Hey Nicole, how you doing? Looking great. Logo looks fantastic. I have a little suggestion for the logo. I'm wondering about something here because, the rings, they just kind of seem a little bit out of place here. And I'm wondering, I think it's the size of the rings. I think the elliptic rings are too prominent in your logo. Let's go down and find a smaller version of your logo and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so right here, it just seems like we have layer instead of one cohesive mark. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, I've got an idea I think it's going to really help. And, it's going to be odd for you because it's going to entail some asymmetry, which a lot of students at this point are just not used to it. But I'd like to make a suggestion here and go with me on this for a second. Tell me what you think. Okay, Aspen 2022. All right, now let's take these Olympic rings. Right now, if you take a look at the size of the mark, okay, so there's one rectangle there, okay? And here's another rectangle here, okay? And then here's another rectangle here. So my idea is this, can we build a little asymmetry by doing this? Can we take those rings, reduce the size, and slip them right about this big, and slip them right underneath the 2022 so that we don't have this crazy symmetry. We have a little bit of asymmetry. We're kind of building along this composition and the asymmetry of this composition with the 2022 tucked in there. And I think what is going to happen here is that by tucking the logo rings about that size right underneath, maybe even just a little smaller, right underneath the 2022, I think it's really going to nicely counterbalance the fact that this is so heavy to the left by these swashes right here. So you've got a lot of weight over here that needs to be counterbalanced, and I think putting the rings right under there is really going to make it for an interesting asymmetry in the logo. One other thing I would suggest is just pulling this a little bit closer to the mountains, right about there or so. Okay, try it. I think you're going to like it, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting, Mark. Okay, so let's go on. Introduction. Now, one thing I noticed is that you're really text light. Now, remember all of that research we did? I mean, let's get all that in here. This is your brand book. I mean, you're selling the location without trying to sound like you're trying to promote Anchorage. You're actually selling, or I'm sorry, Anchorage. Aspen, you're actually selling the location without trying to have it look like a promotion for Aspen, Colorado. Do you see what I'm saying? So all of that research that you had, let's get those paragraphs in here. All of it. I mean, every bit of research that you had done, I think really should be involved in your presentation. Introduction. Okay, logo development. I think, boy, you had a lot going on in your logo development. Don't be afraid to show your first iterations and talk about those. Show your second iterations and then your final, and talk about how you developed your final logo and how you arrived at that final mark. I think that's a really interesting way to go. Color palette looks good. You want to talk about the color palette, though. Give us some text on the color palette. Also, talk about the design of the tickets. What is the inspiration behind the tickets? I mean, that's all really good stuff that we're all privy knowledge to because we've been following your project all along. But you have to assume that somebody's going to be looking at this for the first time. So you really want to describe all your decisions. This area, I think, is too big, and this area is too small on your tickets. Don't forget, it's an international audience. So this has got to be prominent information. So I think that's too small. I would go ahead and reduce the size of your pictographs to about something like that. So you can use the whole bottom of the ticket, increase the gate size, aisle size, row size, seat size, the URL, and the other supporting graphics. I think it's really important to do that. You've got a drop shadow on this logo here, but not this one here. Look how much better it looks without the drop shadow. Just superior. And then what I would do here with this snowboard is I would just go ahead and just either silhouette him in a dark blue, maybe this blue right here, or even black. Try it. Black might be too heavy. A dark blue like this is going to be, or maybe pull one of the dark blues out of your mountains and just color that whole silhouette. I think it'll make it much more visible. This billboard design. Now, place this. Don't forget to place this. Okay, so find an image of a billboard, and it shouldn't be too difficult. Use Photoshop to place this. One thing I recommend is not altering the look of the rings. So in other words, you've got a couple of things going on here in the rings. You've got this yellow turns to white where the mountains are, and the red turns to white, and the black turns to blue. And I think that's a mistake. Number one, I think the International Olympic Committee won't allow that because this is their branding. This needs to remain solid. And to do so, I highly recommend not altering the original logo. You've also got these gaps between the spaces. Again, I think that's a mistake too. So I would go with the traditional rings on that. And also, let's get a placement shot there. This looks fabulous. I think Eric's the one that said, where do I get that backpack? Well, sign me up too, because I want one as well. Awesome job. Okay, so you're right on track here, and I know this page is bugging me, and I'm going to tell you why. This image here is so dark and desolate. I'd like to get some color in here, just not to try to continue this. I want to use the word drab. It's very gray and it's very bleak almost. So let's just kind of counter that on this page, but by adding some color into those, the mountain colors into those. Okay. Now you're doing great. I think you're really underdeveloped right now. I think self-admittedly, I think you would agree with me. But go ahead and take a look at those examples. And sorry about that thing and with the broken links. I'm so glad that you were persistent enough to say, hey, something's up here, because I did check and you are exactly right. Those links are broken. They weren't the day before yesterday. They were fine. So it was really odd. So I thought that I would go ahead and place those examples up there. So I don't think they're going to have these links fixed by the time we're done with the class. So, even though I submit a tech support ticket today. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. And again, just a little underdeveloped. Go through those examples and take a look and really, really try to get. I mean, you got 9 pages here. I'm looking for 20, maybe 22. I think that would really, really. Don't force it though. Don't force it. Really take your time and give us some really good, well thought out presentational pages. Okay. If you have any questions or if you need any help this final week, I'll be here. I'll be doing double time because I know you guys will. So. If you're working, I'm working. All right. Awesome. All right. Any questions? I'm right here. Thanks.